Okay, remember they changed my voice. I'm going to go over Revelation 17 to 21 soon. This video is important. This is not about that. But real briefly, the Bible says, woe to you, call good evil and evil good. And they basically believe that their invalid church system, their rape by deception system, what have you, is what they should follow. So by their actions, they're calling evil good and good evil. And they're pretending the idea of a morally precise leader of all mankind is wrong, and they're pretending in a sense by their actions that magically that Christ is Babylon, okay, and that Babylon they're pretending is Christ. It's pretty simple. Rapture, the word rapture is rape root scrambled. Martial, right, is marital scrambled. They talk about arranged marriages. They allude to their secret society stuff. And remember, Mars is a deity who raped Rhea, and he's a relative of Zeus, who's like King Rape. Pretty straightforward. They're in a rape system where they put their mere human rules, customs, and traditions before God. Everyone knows that about the churches. If they don't know that, wow, do they know 1 + 1 = 2? Okay, so when you hear it from the church, and you look at what they're doing, it's clear cut. That's the Antichrist. Where do you look for things related to thistles? By the thistle bush, and where you look for things related to thorn bush? By the thorn bush. Where do you look for the tree of life and righteousness? By me, the gate, the tree of life, so to speak. Wisdom. I am wisdom. I'm the way. I'm the truth. I'm the life. So I have an important message to get out. Okay, I have an important message to get on. There are some things that I'm willing to negotiate on, and some things that I cannot negotiate on, as my religion, philosophy, and life purpose are pinpointed moral precision. Okay, so first I'm going to go through 5 things, and this is a rough draft, and none of these things are immoral. If you think it's immoral for me to negotiate on these things, let me know. I do not believe it's immoral. Depending on these circumstances, I'm willing to negotiate where I live. Okay, so if they give me a suitable helper, they stop suppressing my channel, I'm willing to negotiate moving to, say, Wisconsin or whatever. You see what I'm saying? I'm willing to negotiate where I live under the right circumstances. It's more than reasonable. Number 2, if I'm given what I need, a suitable helper, how much noise I make. So when they provoke me, make me very angry, and I make some kind of noise, and it really isn't that bad. Where I live, there's a lot of dog barking and horse sounds and so on and so forth. So it's, but in case somebody had a problem with that, and, they like to cite random stuff to pretend it's about that and make it about something else. You see what I'm saying? When it's really about my point of view, and they provoke me and they say, well, you won't stop yelling. So again, if I'm given what I need, much attractive women present themselves and I choose a suitable helper, I'm willing to negotiate how much noise I make, which is more than reasonable with everything considered. Point number 3, as long as the message gets out, okay, the duration of the protest and the location, right? Applying for a permit, say you have, only have an hour or 5 hours or whatever. Okay, I'm willing to negotiate about the duration of the protest and the location if it ever comes to that, within reason. Okay. Point number 4, whether I cuss in videos on my main channel. Again, some people say, well, what you're doing is very important, and the kids and all this stuff. I think that the kids can hear you brood of vipers, you snakes. Okay, and he didn't come from the dogs, and there's a lot of stuff in the Bible. They talk about breasts. May her breasts satisfy you also, always, and so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure they can hear my cuss words as a result of me being persecuted. Okay, but I'm willing to negotiate whether I cuss in my videos on my main channel. So if I have one main channel, it gets most of the views, I'm willing to negotiate that. 5, I'm willing to negotiate what pictures I use as an example within the boundaries of moral precision. Mind you, say, I don't want you to use Prince Harry or Prince William or the president or whatever. Within the boundaries of moral precision, I'm willing to say, you know what, I don't have to use those pictures. So this is me being more than fair. So none of these things are something that I should have to negotiate, because I have freedom of speech. The Constitution is supposed to guarantee me these rights. But I'm bending over backwards to show you that I'm being reasonable. They're not. They're acting crazy. I'm acting sane and reasonable, and I am sane and reasonable. Okay. The next part. Depending on the transparency and authenticity of the War on Poverty plan, who leads it and who is on the committee? Okay. I didn't, I'm going to have to print this out again. Okay. I did that. That was actually point number 6. So depending on the transparency and the authenticity of the War on Poverty plan, if we come to some kind of agreement about it, who leads it and who's on the committee? I'm willing to negotiate not leading the War on Poverty plan, not even being on the committee. okay, but still supporting it depending on the authenticity and the transparency, okay? And that is another interesting point, okay? Now, obviously, it's much better off if I'm leading it, okay, because I'm the only one anyone could trust. Everyone else failed the trust test. They're not worthy, they're not trustworthy. You know, who could miss that? But I'm willing to negotiate that nonetheless. That's how fair I am. Now, what I'm not willing to negotiate, I'm not willing to negotiate my freedom of speech other than the things, other than cussing and whatever else I say, how much noise I make, okay, to bother the neighbors or whatever, whoever might be bothered. They haven't complained to me, but I'm willing to negotiate. Excuse me, I'm not willing to negotiate my freedom of speech, number one. Number two, my freedom of religion and my right to argue that it is obvious that I'm Christ and the top martial arts ever possible. I'm not willing to negotiate these things. It's very important they get that through their head because they harass me all the time about these things. I'm not willing to negotiate these things under any circumstances whatsoever. Point number three, I am not willing to negotiate my right and what I'm going to continue to do, which is make it clear that I'm not gay. I'm not willing to negotiate, whether I appear gay or not. I'm going to make it clear that I'm not gay and I'm not bisexual or anything like that. Point number four, my right to not appear gay and to verbally chastise people if they make it so I seem gay. I'm not willing to negotiate my right to say, hey, you people sink lower. You're in the afterlife. You and your offspring are going to suffer more if you make it so I seem gay. I'm not willing to negotiate that. Okay, that's like somebody, they may as well be shooting at me with an assault rifle and say, hey, he's trying to defend himself. I'm not willing to negotiate that. 5, my right to describe who is ideal. My right to describe what is ideal and what isn't, I'm not willing to negotiate that. And 6, my obvious human rights. And that's what I came up with. This is kind of rough draft, but these things are true. And I don't think that, obviously the things I'm not willing to negotiate are never going to change. I'm never going to negotiate those things. Okay? I'm never going to negotiate me being loyal to God. I'm always going to worship God. So I'm going to add that, and, I made it, it should be pretty clear right now to anybody who's watching that I'm right to say it this way. They even changed my voice in this video. And they're trying to take away from the image of God. It says in their Bible that Satan tries to confuse the image of God. When I say to the churches and all this, if you people are so righteous, why are you playing stupid about them, persecute me and interfering with my videos when I'm the only one with a compelling argument on the planet about why he's serving God? You're just using theater arts and twisting scripture, and it's a way a kid could see. Thank you. Okay, so this is another clip again. These are things I'm not willing to negotiate. I added some things to them. Keep in mind, I do not anticipate anyone ever being wise enough to obey God through me because of how they're bred, because of the cultures they're in, because of their behaviors reflecting a certain lack of heart. Okay? So with that in mind, listen carefully. I am not willing to negotiate my loyalty to God and my freedom of speech. That's point number 1. Point number 2, my freedom of religion and my right to argue that it is obvious that I'm Christ and the top martial arts ever possible. Point number 3, making it clear that I'm not gay. Point number 4, my right to not appear gay and to verbally chastise people if they make it so I seem gay, editing my videos, poison me, what have you. 5, my right to describe who is ideal. 6, my obvious human rights. 7, that no one will be right with God after I die. 8, that all marriages are invalid and no one has God's permission to reproduce. 9, that no one has God's permission to have sex. 10, that no one is allowed to train me. 11, that I will not settle. I will not settle for unattractive females or females that I'm not attracted to or being gay or anything like that. That's 11 to 12, that all churches, other religions, other spiritual movements, and other cultures are worldly and invalid. These things, these 12 points, I'll probably be adding more later on, are non-negotiable no matter what. Okay? No one else has God's permission to have sex unless they're in the divine order, obeying God through me. Okay? And then all sex must be females with their tubes tied, okay, and things like that, because no one is allowed to reproduce. So I'll allow for that. But, I guess I'll edit it to make it more freaking clear. It pisses me off that people don't know these things already. All these things are obviously the right thing to do. Something's the right thing to do, I'm not going to negotiate with. That's simple.